Hey friends, welcome to
Hello.
the Inspired Vida Show. My name is Sarah Lacko, and I've always been fascinated about people's stories, their hardship, and how they've overcome those hardships, coming out on the other side, turning their pain into their power and sometimes even their passion. The true underdogs. Literally obsessed with the underdogs. So a quick word from our sponsors. It is the Badass Backpacking Babes. We are starting our online course where we're teaching women how to start backpacking. It's pretty badass. It does go along with its name. And then we also have a retreat where we get to implement those things that we learned within the course. And I just opened up a new retreat as we sold out the other retreat, our annual retreat. So that bonus backpacking retreat is August 19th to the 31st. That's a lie. We're not going that long. It's the 19th of August to the 21st. It's very cool because we get to empower our rewild, work on self-sufficiency and confidence and just all of the things, and just take hold. And so it's pretty badass. If you're interested, I'll have a link in the show notes below, so you can click on that and get more information and we can have a conversation. But enough of that. Now I'm super stoked for today's guest, very excited. I would love for you to introduce yourself, my friend, and we will jump in on this interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I love being here. It's just great to meet amazing people. So my name's Bri Martin. I grew up in Nebraska, sort of on a hippie commune. I've had a kind of a crazy life, a little bit of a crazy path to where I am now. I'm an artist. I'm a mother of two. I have an 18-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I'm a full-time real estate agent, and I've built up a real estate team. Last year, 4 of us sold 110 homes here in Casper, and so we're very busy doing that. Also love doing art, and I'm 5 of the founding members of Funky Junk District, so we're starting to come together and do like an artist collaboration and store and events, and that's been really fun to do. But yeah, my life has not always been super awesome, but I feel like where I've gotten to now, I feel really great about it. So I'm glad.
So exciting. Well, and wow, you are a busy girl, busy.
It's good. I love it.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're kind of ADD. I'm like that too. I'm just all over the place and it's fun to do. So never a dull moment.
No, definitely not. And then too, like, I don't know, like with the ADHD, I'm like, oh, idea. And I'm like, okay, bring it back down. I have to like bring myself down from excitement.
Yep. It
actually,
it works out really great for me because I have a male business partner that we have our team together, and I'm the dreamer and the idea haver. I call him my dream killer, but he's like the very logical, the very like analytical person. And we're celebrating 5 years together this year. So it's been a success. It's a great combination, you know?
yes, it's nice to have that balance and be like, okay, dreamer, reel it in a little bit. I love your ideas, but what can we do right now and what's needed? So
Yes.
I'm super into it. It's a good combo.
It is.
So Bri, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about like what childhood looked like for you growing up.
So when I was young, I grew up in the country outside of Shatter, Nebraska. About 4 families owned 160 acres out there. And so we grew up surrounded by Forest Service and the trees. We had a big orchard of fruit trees. We had a big garden. The first couple of years we were out there, my mom taught school to all of the kids out there. It was really kind of a crazy experience. I'm pretty sure I didn't go like into town until I was about 5. So I had a little bit different of a childhood, but I think it kind of reflected on the art and stuff because we didn't really have TV. We didn't have obviously video games or anything like that. So I spent a ton of time drawing in sketchbooks and dreaming and imagining and writing stories. And so I had a really kind of creative upbringing. And it was really nice too, because I was surrounded by a lot of kids my age and we just got to adventure and explore. So it was a pretty cool childhood.
And how long did you live in, you said a commune, right?
Yes, well, sort of. I feel like when people say that, like it wasn't anything crazy. I think it was more the shared land and everything. We were out there until I was in sixth grade, and then my parents actually ended up getting a divorce in sixth grade, and we moved. I moved into town with my mom, and we moved into a basement apartment, and I moved into town school. So I transitioned from country school to town school in sixth grade, and it was a pretty hard transition for me going through my parents' divorce. It was more of just like at this point in my life, like I can't believe they were ever really married to each other because they're so different. But but it was hard at the time, obviously, like as a sixth grader and just going through all those changes and stuff. And so yeah, middle school and high school, I think was a little, I don't know, is a little bit rough because I was a little bit of a loner. I didn't really feel like, I don't know, I was a depressed kid. So I was that artsy little, me and my best friend dyed our hair black in freshman year of high school. My mom didn't love that. She was a great single mom though. And so she was a single mom from sixth grade to my sophomore year in high school. She was remarried. I have some older step siblings now and one younger sister. Actually left. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So I left Shatter, Nebraska the day after I graduated high school. I got in my car, I packed it up, I drove, I drove out of there, still 17, moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, rented a room from some older girls from Shatter. And then I went to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln for a semester, but I had like totally crippling social anxiety, couldn't handle it. Moved back to Shatter, Nebraska after a semester. And then I did finish out college there. So yeah.
And do you feel like that social anxiety started when because what a culture shock, honestly, to, be living in that kind of environment until sixth grade. And sixth grade, that's a rough time as it is too. But then when you're pulled out of your environment and then put into like a whole nother kind of culture,
it was hard.
Did you notice that? Yeah. Did you notice that's when kind of your like social anxiety had started to happen? Or noticed it then?
Definitely. Like school was really kind of a challenge. Like I had a hard time relating to kids at first. My best friend in sixth grade was the deaf girl, and I learned sign language. And then after that, I became close friends with two girls that we stayed good friends for years. But like, it's just kind of crazy. We also had in Chadron, we had maybe one of the first school shootings. We had a kid in my class shoot a kid's dad that was our teacher in the chest during class when I was in middle school. So going through that was a wild experience. Everybody came out okay. Well, like the teacher came out okay. So it was fine, but just like some crazy stuff. And yeah, like the social anxiety is real. I waited until I was a senior in college, senior in high school, I think, and college to take like the required speech classes because they traumatized me. But it's just fun to look back and be like, oh my gosh, like the fact that I work with people and stuff now, like it even would make, like my mom would have never thought that I'd like have a career where I work with like clients all the time and I'm like this outgoing person, because it's kind of turned around a lot since back
Isn't
then.
that amazing? Like how far we really can come. And yeah, sometimes like just looking back of where we were to think where we are now is like, yeah, right. If someone tells you that, you're like, yeah, right, that would happen. No way. And then you're like, okay, well, here I am.
Yeah, it cracks me up. So I graduated actually with a 6-month-old baby. My last semester, I was a single mom. I had my daughter. We moved into a $25 a month apartment. We're on food stamps and everything, and like finished up my last semester. So I got a bachelor's degree in graphic design and marketing. So my intention was to take that and work behind the scenes, doing graphic design and that sort of thing. But right after I had my daughter, we moved to Laramie, Wyoming, following her dad. And I ended up applying for a graphic design job, but getting an advertising sales job at the newspaper there. So that was kind of the first time that I transitioned to working more with, people. And that is that's my past. I've been a waitress. I've worked for a telemarketing place. I've worked for my dad's restaurant. I worked at McDonald's when I was 15. Like I grew up working. So that wasn't the problem, but I never would have thought that that's what I would have picked. It's funny
Right.
looking back. So,
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that.
mhm.
So leading up to like your biggest turning point, like your biggest hardship where it kind of like, changed your life. Right before that hardship, where were you like mentally, physically, like within yourself? What did that look like before your big hardship?
So, and I kind of felt like the whole time raising my kiddos, I was in a pretty rocky relationship with my husband at the time. We got married when my daughter was 5, and it just wasn't a marriage made from like love and romance and anything. It was more of a practicality thing. Like when I became a real estate agent, like it was frowned upon that like me and my kids' dad wasn't married and that sort of thing. So I felt pressure to marry so that, it would look more normal and all of that. So we actually just kind of decided to get married. Got married in Las Vegas. We were married for 7 years. And when we went through our divorce and leading up to the divorce and everything, it was just a really, really rough road for a long time. So just dealing with going from having, a husband, 2 dogs and 2 kids at home to having to share the kiddos. The dogs didn't live here. So it's just so quiet. Like that's the first
Mm,
time I've really had alone time in my life, I felt like, and it was really hard for me. Like I just didn't know how to deal with it. It was a pretty toxic relationship, and obviously everybody's worse come out going through that kind of stuff. But we went through protection orders, broken protection orders, safe houses. Like it was pretty
mm,
awful. And I really don't like, I don't mean to talk about it too much, but because it's still, we're trying to make it still work with our 2 kids and everything. So I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but it was a pretty awful time. And I'm just really thankful to be on the other side of it.
mm,
But yeah, kind of like the year of my divorce, it just went downhill and downhill. And I was just sinking into a pretty dark place, drinking a ton, and just probably trying to dull all the trauma that I was feeling. So I finally decided at that low point, just to kind of that I couldn't do it anymore. Like I'm way more powerful than this. I was still building my business, building a team and everything. I was lucky to have a super supportive, like my business partner has been here for all of this. And so he was very supportive in anything that I needed, as far as like if I had to get out of town quickly or whatever, like I always felt supported and covered, and still managed to build our business through this. But like it was just freaking hard. So I was in a shitty place, and just feeling like I wasn't sure how to get to the other side.
mm. And so many people can relate or have someone that has done that where, drinking or something else, maybe it's like shopping or whatever, but sometimes we run away from something. And like you said, I love how you put it, like dull it down, right? And so we use those unhealthy coping mechanisms. And a lot of people saw that too during the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that they had done or previously used as a coping mechanism, maybe couldn't do that at that point.
Right.
So I mean, so many people can relate to that. And so your business partner that you have now is the one that helped you through it, right? The one you said that is the dream killer, but
Yes,
that
my
is
dream
like
killer business partner
I
is
just
one of
think
my
that's
favorite
hilarious.
humans. He's been, yeah, he has, and like the fact that he was just a great rock to have during that whole time. I also had a business coach, a real estate coach, and she's been with me through the whole time too. And the whole time she'd just be like, I know things are really dark right now, and I know they're really feeling out of control or whatever, but the one thing that you can control is if you're focusing on your business and doing business. And as long as that doesn't fall apart, I think that you'll get through this okay. And I think the 2 of them probably were some of my biggest supports and
So
reasons I got through. So
yeah. so nice to have that support sometimes. And two, like being so close with them with trying to build this business, when I think sometimes people have a hard time when they don't own a business, kind of understanding of how hard building a business can be. And it takes a lot of you. And if you're like struggling in your personal life, it can be so much harder too. Can you relate to that as far as like trying to build a business?
Like when you're in a mentally bad place, you can't function. Like it's such a hard job. Like if you could just go clock in and clock out and you make the same money regardless of if you're mentally breaking down or not, that's one thing. And then it's a whole nother thing when, like what you do and how you feel directly correlates with your family making money or not. When you're the sole provider and you have 2 kiddos, and it's can be stressful, but we made it.
Yeah. And that's so badass too, as far as like, going through those hardships and then, still showing up and working on connections with your clients and, working on building this business. It's huge. And I can only imagine how difficult it was to do that. But also having like a business, it shows you I have come to find out, at least, like it's helped me, having my business has helped me dig deeper within myself. To maybe the things that I was hiding from, brought it to the surface. And it is not necessarily, well, it's not an easy thing to face some of your stuff, right? But it's really a blessing to have that. And I don't know about for you, but my business has been a blessing for me to, show that other side of me, to dig deeper. I thought I had dug pretty deep within myself, but when I'm running a business and, going through hardships, it's like a whole nother umbrella or branch to it. I don't even necessarily know how to describe it, but I know a lot of business owners can relate to that.
I completely get that. It's just been interesting. Just how you learn from your business. It's also, I've been in a new relationship for a couple of years now, and just all of this stuff that kind of comes back that you didn't know that was still there. There's stuff that you're like, why does this even matter? But like, it's just from these old wounds that you just don't even realize until you're back in a situation that's reminding yourself of it in any sort of way. So
because you're like, oh, I got it. And then you are faced with it and you're like, wait, this is something I thought I got through, but still I'm obviously working through. And it's like those wounds, right? And it's still there, right? We still had to go through it. Sometimes being in those different circumstances, like you said, like being in a relationship, then open that up to be like, oh, wait a minute, like that's still there. Because a lot of times, like within ourselves, things that we've done to survive different struggles and hardships, the things that we use to survive through that, then we're in a different place, but then we use those same things and it's like, I'm not that same person anymore. Right. I don't have to use those same, like it served me then, but it's like, it's hindering me now. And then, having to work through that, I can very much relate to that.
About that is because I read so many self-help books and like the improvement books, and I journal and I take notes and just do all these different things. Like I'm kind of, I don't know, I overdo it probably, but it's just funny because like when you can see yourself doing something stupid and you know what you're doing that's fucked up, but you're just watching yourself doing it and you're like, how do I like switch the switch, like I know what I'm doing, just rein it. But it is funny because sometimes it just happens and then you have to forgive yourself.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, forgiving yourself is huge. And just taking that step back and going like, hold on a second, this is not really me, this is not really how I want to show up, this is not how I've grown, right? And so like taking that step back and sometimes just owning it with those other people, like when you're going through that and it's happening with someone else and you're like, this isn't how I wanted to show up, right?
Right.
I'm in a better place. And then just saying to them like, hey, that's
Sorry.
the old me. I worked through it. I'm so sorry. I obviously need some growing to do in that department still. And I
that's one of my
helping me.
That's one of my favorite things about other people, and when I can do it, is just when you can just be like brutally honest like that and just say this stuff like that. Like, if anybody makes excuses versus just saying the things, it's like one of my pet peeves.
Same, completely the same. When you own your shit to someone else, it really like it opens them up to you. And maybe they were like angry with you at first, or whatever the situation, but when you tell them like where you're coming from and you own it, it makes them be able to understand you better, be able to relate to you better, be able to be more compassionate to you, because everybody has their shit. There isn't one person out there that isn't working through some shit. And so they can relate to you, maybe not in the aspect of where, whatever you're dealing with, but in the aspect of, I own my shit and I'm dealing with my shit. And the same goes for us. When someone owns that, you're like, okay, I can totally respect the fact that you just owned it and you're working through it, because I do too. I don't hate anything, but I dislike when excuses come out versus just like owning it, like, hey, I'm scared, or hey, I'm but sometimes people have to work through that. But yeah, so much respect for someone that owns their shit. And I don't know about like for you, for me, when I own my shit, it's like scary at first, but then it feels so good.
It feels so good. Like it just makes everybody, I don't know, because everybody's human. We all have our like weirdness or whatever, like you were saying. But yeah, as long as we can just be real with each other instead of trying to push things under the rug or not talk about them, like the best way is just to like get whatever is out there, and then everybody feels better.
Well, and Brene Brown, I love
her.
Some, Me too. I love me some personal development as well. And she talks about like the armor, right? And she's very much into vulnerability and putting that armor up to protect ourselves. But really it hinders us from relationships, it hinders us from connections and all these things. But when we like own our stuff, like it brings that armor down a little bit, and it's actually super freeing and empowering. And you're like, okay, I was scared to admit that because of my ego. One person I've heard your ego is not your amigo.
I know. I've thought about making a sticker that says that because I love
my gosh. So you've heard it too. I love that. I don't remember where I heard it from, but it's so true. And so when you can like
just get beyond that.
Yeah, totally. And then you're just like, you just feel more free and not so like defensive and closed off.
Yeah, one of my biggest things is like connection with people. And I feel like that's just like a good starting point for connecting with people, because when they see that that you have similarities, or you've gone through similar hardships, or there's so many different ways that you can connect with people, but it's so much easier to connect with people if you're not so ashamed of all of your little like your hardships that you've gone through, or just all these different things. People will accept us who we are and where we are.
Absolutely. And it's not and everybody has their hardships, but it's just a matter of like falling victim to it or rising above and becoming a warrior from it and helping it fuel us. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, like, we might spiral in it for a bit, but then it's really important to be like, okay, I'm spiraling here, and pulling yourself out of that and then fueling yourself for better from that, because sometimes we need that. So for you had talked about that, you were using drinking as like a coping mechanism, as a dulling mechanism. What was there anything like specific that kind of like that happened where it kind of like shook you and was like, okay, it's time to pull out of this. It's time to rise above it.
Well, it was such just a dark place. And honestly, like it was a combination of things. It wasn't great. Like my ex-husband would have his house searched by his probation officer and stuff, and my kids would be there. They'd call me to come get the kids. Like one of those times I had been drinking, like I didn't know what was going to happen. But like that in itself, I think was like the biggest wake up call. Like I have to be the sane one right now because there's only one of us that kind of was at the time. So, so I took that and I was just done. I took a break it was between 6 and 9 months off and on a little bit. Once I met my boyfriend and kind of got back to a more stable place, I have been drinking, but it's not like it was then. Like it was different. It was ugly. So
yeah. Well, and two, I'm sure when that situation happened where you had to go and pick up your kids, and had been drinking, like sometimes we use that as a way to like control and be like, I'm okay and I have control and all these things. But then when you feel like out of control, like you don't have control, yes, and being like, oh shit, I actually don't have control and this is not a good situation. And yeah, sometimes it is those different things, but it can be like that one little thing to be like, yeah, oh,
yep,
something's got to change.
That was it for me. So then, yeah, I took a big long break. I'd already been working out. Like I had a great gym that I went to like 4 times a week. That really helped me get through. Like I started mountain biking with friends. That was awesome. Like it was just nice to find different things. Like I felt like I got to get more connected with my art. And, I think your connections with people when you aren't focused on drinking and partying and stuff can be so much deeper. So it's been really nice because I don't know, just being able to connect with people in different ways and through having Funky Junk, and we've been doing classes and things there. And a lot of the reasons for those classes are because all of us have felt like just having those times to hang out with friends and not having responsibilities that you're focused on so that you can have that raw talk and like the sharing and stuff like is healing for everybody there. So, and there's a lot of people that don't have the friend groups maybe on their own, or they don't tell people anything, but then they come here and they feel like maybe it's a safe space or come hang out, so that's been really fun to do.
Well, and that was going to be my next that's very cool, by the way. And that was going to be my next question for you. Like what helped you along the way, to get through that hardship, to get through that hard time in your life?
It was just focusing on the things that I could control. It was my real estate coach staying there reminding me to just keep going, because as a single parent, you can't quit. You don't have that luck, like you don't get to. So it was her reminding me and keeping me motivated and remembering that I am a badass. I'm not the victim. It's okay. And it was doing counseling. It was medication. Honestly, it was meditation, writing, arting, like hiking, all of the different things, like just trying to get outside of myself and just, getting out into the world, I think was a big part of healing for me.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes when we're going through those hard times, we can just kind of be recluse and just like,
and it gets bad. It's ugly in there.
It's so dark, so dark. Yeah, I did that in a period of my life, and I would use journaling. Like that was my friend, because I was married to a military guy, so I didn't have like family around or friends around, and so but super recluse, was not like talking to anyone on the phone or anything, and I would use my journal. And man, I years later went back to that and I was like, whoa, super dark place.
It's so hard to read. Like sometimes I
felt bad for my old self. I was like, oh geez, it's so hard when it's to recluse is maybe like a natural thing, right? And just to like, oh, I'm just going to deal with it, it's going to be fine, whatever. But it's like, it's so important, like you said, to get out there and to connect with people and to let them help you and to ask for help and to say, hey, I'm not doing so hot right now and I need a friend to talk to, because there are people that love you and you know, want the best for you. So I love those things. And you said too, before, were you starting to dive into like personal development as well?
Yeah, I've always been into that. So it's been part of, I don't know, I guess the way my mom's also a counselor. So I guess it's probably partly that. Like I've always had that counselor. I've always had the self-helpy books around, and I've always kind of been curious about it. And I've been in and out of like having depression and that sort of thing since I was like 14. So, but always just trying to get a little bit better. Always, because you're never gonna just be there. Like I feel like now it's like I just turned 40, and I feel like even like now it's just the beginning of maybe where I'm starting to have some sort of understanding of what life's really kind of about, or like being able to enjoy it a little bit more and not feeling like I'm the victim of all this trauma, that now I'm like a new person and moving forward, you know?
Yeah, and it's just about like continuing to grow. Like I love, there's a quote where it's like, if you're not growing, then you're dying. And it's so important, like regardless of what age we are, regardless, is to keep growing, to keep learning, you know, always being a student. Because you know, when you get to a place of like, oh, I'm good and everything's great, it's like, no, there's still more learning to go through. I did that once where I was like, oh, I've made it, I'm great, everything is fine. And the universe was like, bitch, smack me. It was like, no, you're not. You're never made it. Like, you're never there. You're continually growing. And it's just important for us, I think, to remember that. And, you know, 30, you grew, 40, you grew, 50, you're going to go. Like, so we just continue with that. And it's a hard process, but it's a beautiful one too.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. It's nice to feel like, yeah, that I'm starting to feel a little bit of peace and like security. Like these things aren't things that I've had much experience with. So I'm quite enjoying it.
Well, and to get to that peace is to work through it, is to face it. And to face things is really difficult, but it's really worth it. And so when you're able to start like facing those things, like we said, like owning your shit or working through, like just doing that, it helps you grow within yourself, and it helps you own who you are and like who you want to be. And so it's not an easy process, but once you're like, you know what, I'm going to keep diving into me, and I'm going to keep learning who I am, and I'm going to keep finding out who I am. It's a very cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really neat. Just even going through getting ready for our conversation was just going back and looking through the stuff, you know, there's a lot, and but it does feel good to kind of address it. It feels good to talk about it because I know that it can help somebody else. And I mean, that's my hope, that that no matter where you're at now, it gets better, and it can. So
totally. And I try to tell people, like the people that come on this show, like it is not an easy thing. It's really hard to like put your story out there, put your hardships out there, and where you've been and where you are. Like it's not an easy thing to do, and then to show it to people. But it's so cool for other people to be like, well, if they've gone through that and I've gone through that and they've come up on the other side, then I can come out on the other side, right? And even for the guests too, like people that have been on, it helps them to like, okay, you know, I thought I had like overcome this stuff, but like you said, it's like it's a wound, right? And so it's never gone, it's always there. It's just a matter of like still growing through it and healing through it, and sometimes it's just like different levels of healing. So yeah, I love how you're like, yeah, it wasn't easy to get on here, because it's not easy to share your shit. Seriously.
It's wild because I feel like most people just don't know most of my history. Like they're like, holy cow. So
Totally. Well,
and that's the way
that,
we all are with everybody. Like once you start talking
exactly.
to people, you're like, whoa, we all have
And
crazy
that's
stories.
absolutely. And that's why I love this show too, because it brings light to people where you're like, wow, I had no idea that they lived like that, or that they went through that. And it just makes it so much more relatable too.
Yeah.
But to see, I think like the human spirit is just amazing. And the things that we can go through and overcome is just insane and
It is.
insanely beautiful. And so, yeah, I super nerd out about it.
Me too. I like it.
So tell us, for like, what successes and accomplishments have you had from like your struggle and your hardship? What has come from that on the other side of that beauty? Like, what accomplishments and successes have you had from that hardship?
I mean, honestly, it's just been learning to stand on my own 2 feet and not making excuses for myself, but trying to do the best that I can each day. And there's days that I can't get out of bed, and there's days that I kick ass, and there's all the days in between. And I think it's just being a little bit gentle with ourselves, because I know that I'm a jerk to myself a lot. And so trying to keep that voice, the mean voices under control, and like try to be supportive to myself has been something. And it's just been good, because I feel like now that I've gone through that experience, that I could be a support for other people, because we're not all through that stuff. Like a lot of us are right in the middle of it. So just knowing that there's people in the world that are there that will help you, because there's a lot of us that have been through icky stuff. You just got to find the right support system, but don't try to do it on your own, because that's where things get really dark, and your head's a scary place to be, and it doesn't tell you the nicest, most supportive things.
Yeah. And have you seen things grow like within your business and with your art?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just in the last year has been when we've started Funky Junk. It's just been probably right about the year mark now. And so that's been really fun to actually be doing something with my art. And actually, I haven't had many artistic friends in my past for whatever reason. I've been like lone artist. So it's fun to do that with other people and to share the different things with people there. And then our team has been growing. We're doing great. I'm going to close over 40 houses this year. Like I'm on track for selling a lot. So, and it's been because of what a better place I think I'm in, that like, I think that's when success happens, is when you're doing the right things and, you're in the right mental space, because that's really important. And it's easier to do when you don't have all the trauma and chaos going on.
Mm-hmm. And two, sometimes like in life, when we're like forcing things to work, and it's like, why isn't this working? Like I'm trying to make this
fight
work.
it and fight it.
And it's just not meant to be. It's like I'm all about the universe. And for me, it's like the universe is like, no, this is not where you're supposed to be. You don't have control of this. You can't make this something work that's not supposed to. And finally, like I've noticed, like once I got on that path of like trying to force things to work for me, and then when I just like let them happen and started going on the path, all of these beautiful things like come to you. Like you and I talk about it like as the river, right? You're going against the universe, you're swimming up the river, and it is tiring as hell because you're going against the current. But when you turn around and you start just flowing with the river, it's just so much more relaxed and so much more enjoyable. And all these really beautiful things can come, and all these beautiful things can be like appreciated because you're not so damn tired of trying to force things to work. Right. And you're more open to it where it can come to you.
Yeah, that's been huge, because that is a big part of it, was just like letting go. Like I couldn't control a lot of what was going on. So it's focusing on what there was that I could do. And then it was like letting go of the rest. And that really made things end up way better. So.
And so many people can relate to that, where it's like we're trying to control all these things that we just can't. Like, you can't control it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not meant to. But when you focus on the things that you can control and you can work through and you can be flexible with, I think being flexible is a big thing too. Then it just goes so much better, and you're putting your focus into something where you can grow and do better in, versus in something you can't control. And then you're like, I can't control things, and it's frustrating and it's scary. And it's because you're just not working on the right thing, or not focusing on the right thing.
Yep, absolutely. That's a major thing. And it's hard to see for yourself sometimes. Like, you almost need somebody else to point it out sometimes.
There, I think it's Dean Graziosi. He's one of the personal development people that I've followed, and he talked about, like, he did like rafting, whitewater rafting, and the guide for it was like, I'm going to tell you where I want you to go. I'm not going to point out the things where I don't want you to go.
Yeah.
So like they're going, yes, exactly. What you put your focus on is where you're going to go. And so doing the rafting, instead of saying like, look out for that rock, look out for that rock, and then everybody going for the rock, because that's what they're focused on not going, but they go to, but focusing on like, see that open space, let's go to that open space. And
that reminds me of mountain biking too. Like, when you're mountain biking, you're not looking at the obstacle right there, you're looking past it, because you're looking at where you want to go so you don't get tripped up.
Absolutely.
And everything.
I recently went on a hiking trip with my boyfriend, and he's a rock climber and all the things, and I'm working on it, but there was a super steep area, and I was focused on not falling kind of far. And I like started to slide, and he, grabbed my hand and whatever, and I, banged up my leg, but I was focused on the scary part of it versus just looking forward and paying attention what was right in front of me and what I could control versus, that area. So,
right? Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be a scar.
There's going to be a scar. I know. I did flip over my handlebars once, and it was not my favorite part, but
yeah. And that's that learning, right? Is like, okay, definitely don't
always painful
those things. Yeah.
Get back.
Yeah, that's the physical ones where you're like, okay, and I'm going to translate this into my life as well.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So we're to our wrap-up question, and I love this question. Based off your hardships and your successes, how do you think we can do better? Maybe do better as an individual, do better as a society, do better as a community, or all of it? How do you think we can do better?
I think it's kind of about supporting other people. It's about using our experiences to help somebody else through their experiences. It's about being authentic and telling our stories and being honest about it, instead of trying to hide things and appear perfect. Like, because I think that's where connection is formed. I think, just having that support group, like we've been talking about this whole time, like whether it is like your friends, whether it's a book club, whether it's a church group, whether it's whatever it is, I think you need people in your life that can hear you, and not toxic people that are going to, turn it around or anything like that, but just somebody, especially I found a lot of other people that have been through similar things as me. When we talk about these things, like, it's just nice to have that commonality. And I think that a lot of people are scared to say a lot of the stuff that we've gone through because of the shame and all of that. But I think it's so important to get things off our chest. It's important to tell our stories. It's important to be a guide for somebody that's still in the dark.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think it's if your good friend, if they're going through something, you would want them to talk to you about it, right? And you'd want to help them. And the same goes for you. Like, they want you to confide in them, and like you said, those good people, those good friends, and being aware of like, you know, the toxic friends versus the friends that are really trying to help you and pull you through and have great advice, you know, and can help be there for you.
Yep.
So I love it. And I think there's so much healing to be had when you just let that go. You know, you don't have to carry it on your back forever. And once you start to let that go, it's your load becomes so much lighter and you become so much lighter. So it's great advice. I'm obsessed.
Love it. Yeah. Yes.
Well,
this show's been great too. Like I've been loving watching them. I love that I had a chance to be on, and yes, I think you'll have to have a get together. Well, your retreats. Cool. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
We all could get oh girl, dreamer. Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
Fellow dreamer.
We need a party. No.
I'm about it. That's a great idea, and I'm obsessed with it. And so many commonalities can come from that too, just having those conversations, because this is just such a small little part of our lives, right? That we share, or one hardship. It's not all, you know, it's not all the things we've been through. And there's just, life can be difficult and it can be beautiful, and it's going through multiple things. And, you know, people that are on here are just sharing one, you know, big experience with us, but, you know, there's just so much more. And yes, I'm very obsessed with that. Oh gosh, I love that you're a dreamer.
Yes, so much.
Oh, so cool. Well, and I'm so grateful for you being on this show. I know this is not an easy thing to like tell our stories and to talk about and to share it, right? So I just think it's badass that you and all the other guests that come on here, I'm always so inspired by all of you guys and in awe of you guys, because it's really beautiful to share those things and for us all to grow through them. And I've made so many connections with people on this show. And it's fucking beautiful, right?
Yes,
it's just so cool, and I'm obsessed with it. So thank you so much for being on the show. But before we go, Bri, how can people and where can they connect with you? But also I'm going to include in the description below, so we'll have all the links to where you can connect with Bri. But just tell us a quick run through, and then you can send me that stuff and I'll include it. Sure. But where can we find you?
So my email address is easy. It's Bri, B-R-I at brimartin.com. And brilliantlybri.com is my blog where I post new paintings. I'm down at Funky Junk, my art. And it's also at Metro Coffee Shop on the east side, so you can check it out there. And then, I'll share my Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok stuff with you to share below.
Excellent. Very cool. Thank you for that. And thanks for being with us and sharing your story. And you guys, I always forget to tell people to subscribe, but please subscribe to the show. Keep listening to people's stories and keep growing, and we'll keep growing together. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much. Much love and good vibes, and we'll see you later. Bye, you guys.